So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the biggest mistake I see 99% of golfers make to improve your ball striking with your irons, your fairway woods, and keep watching till the end for the extra bonus tip on how you're going to hit driver better than ever. So most golfers, when you see them swinging the club, particularly in practice swings, things look great, they look rhythmical, we'll say relatively powerful for the individual swinging, and it just looks like if they could put the practice swing on the shot, they'd hit a lot of high quality golf shots. But unfortunately, golfers get set up over the ball and it's just nothing like the movement that you see. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's me. Well, why is it the case that the practice swing's great, the actual swing isn't, and most importantly, what's the skill you need to get good at to become a much better ball striker with every club in the bag? Well, let's start with the shots on the floor. So when the ball's down on the ground, whether it be with wedges, irons, hybrids or fairway woods, we often talk about the club needing to hit down on the golf ball so that we hit ball and then ground. But the big problem is when we make our swing looking from face on, the club head moves in a circular motion around your body. So at some point the club's moving up, at some point it's moving down, reaches its lowest point and then moves back up. But the problem for a lot of golfers, they've got no idea about how to control the lowest point of the golf swing, because for them, the golf ball is the lowest point. And because of that, we see all kinds of different movements. So I'm going to keep it very simple for you. Whenever the golf ball's on the floor, we want the lowest point of the golf swing to be ahead of the golf ball. And because the driver's a different animal, we want it behind. But for now, I've got 7-iron in my hand. We're going to set up next to the golf ball. And even though we're setting up with our weight fairly 50-50, maybe a little bit more on that left side, when we swing, the lowest point of our golf swing should almost be opposite your lead armpit. So you can see if I want the lowest point of my swing to be maybe 3-4 inches ahead of the golf ball, I might allow my weight to move on the way back, but I've got to move towards the target to get the club bottoming out much more in front, which obviously isn't what I see with golfers who are trying to hit the golf ball. Generally speaking, you see them fall back. We can see their low point 1 inch behind the ball, so the club's actually travelled up a degree, and that's 7-iron, slightly toe strike, 131 yards carry. So like I said, what we're going to do, 7-iron down to lob wedge, for me ball very central, but like I said, we're trying to get the lowest point much more up here, so we can see we're going to have to be much more this way early in our downswing to do that. So if you want, you can draw a line on the golf ball or just swing opposite. And we want to make sure we're touching the ground up here. And that's much further forward than I see anybody do. And particularly in face-to-face coaching, when I talk about this with golfers, it's like a light bulb moment. So then the key is they stand up there with those short to mid irons, make that movement, and straight away we see a solid strike, that low point move ahead, the club's travelled down 3 degrees, and instantly we see a pickup in distance. And it's very similar to that. It could be 20 yards, it could be 30 yards, but straight away they go, so I don't need to try and hit down. No, just move that low point ahead of the golf ball, and when the ball's in the centre of your stance, obviously the low point is its furthest point in front of the golf ball. So the club's travelling down the most, and that's ideal for kind of 7-iron down. You can get there, really get a feel to getting that weight on that left side. We can see low point 4.2 inches ahead, club's travelled down 4.8 degrees, and suddenly 170 yards carry. Now, as we move on to the longer clubs on the floor, so kind of long irons, hybrids, fairway woods, what we'll tend to talk about is that the ball's very central for the short stuff and then gradually gets further forward. So I've got 7 wood in my hand here. I'm going to go just slightly forward of centre, still looking to get that low point opposite that lead armpit. So now we should see the low point ahead of the ball, but not as far forward, which is why we move the ball position. So we're going to move that ball slightly forward, still focus on really getting that weight onto that lead side. And that felt absolutely fantastic. And we can see they're out of the middle, 2.9 inches ahead, 3 degrees down, 200 carry and just under 210 total. So you can see as long as, particularly when the golf ball's on the floor, you can treat the movement very much the same and learn to start controlling that low point ahead of the ball. You're going to be able to set up, even if you play around a little bit with ball position, get that movement and just start striking the ball from the floor better than ever. Now that moves us finally onto the club that most golfers probably have a love-hate relationship with, the driver. Now it is a different animal, predominantly because the golf ball is now up in the air, not on the ground. And if I'm being honest, this isn't essential with driver. You could still get your low point ahead and get some very good shots like the best drivers in the world. But if you want to maximize your distance with driver, we actually would like the low point behind the ball. So we're still talking about potentially low point being opposite that lead armpit. But what we're going to do driver is we're going to have a wider stance. We're going to get that ball forward. So maybe opposite the lead shoulder. So straight away that low point could be slightly behind. And then what we're going to do is we're actually just going to push the hips towards the target, create a little bit more tilt away from the ball. So now we can see that armpit's further behind. And then all we're really looking to do from there is put another good swing on it. And even though that one's not quite shaping back, we can see the low point 4.5 inches behind. The club's travelled up 2.6 degrees, carry at 239 and total at 256. Now, a lot of golfers as well start worrying about path the club's moving. A very simple way for you to remember this is if the club is moving down towards the low point, it's always moving slightly to the right. Even if you're somebody who's over the top, it's still traveling to the right on the way down. Now, as the club's then moving up, that means that the club's moving more left. So it can be that with driver, you might, instead of lining up nice and square like we get told, you might just want to close that stance a little bit to try and just flatten out your path, neutralize that path. I'm not showing path on here. That one didn't quite shape back as much as I wanted. So we're going to have one more. We're going to make that little adjustment to driver. And we're going to hit a bomb, and then you're hopefully going to put this into practice to hit lots more good shots with every club. And take that one. So not flushed out the middle, but again, 4.6 inches behind, 2.8 degrees up, carry at 253 and total at 272. So the biggest killer in the golf swing is golfers thinking that this is the most important thing in their swing. That because the ball's down there, they have to do whatever they need to make contact, get it in the air, make it go straight, make it go further, strike it correctly. But if you can get good initially at understanding that anytime the ball's on the floor, low point ahead, driver, low point behind, get good at controlling the low point of your golf swing. And the beauty is, this little golf ball gets in the way. You control your swing better and influence the ball and hit lots and lots of high quality golf shots.